Hey guys and gals, Joe here. The band is from Buenos Aires, and I say kill them all. You know, some Starship Troopers for you. Sorry for not being here last week. I was sick with some pretty bad allergies, changing of the season type things, and they were just tearing me up. But I am here today, and I'm going to make it quick today because this card was awful. And this is my recap of UFC Fight Night, Rozenstruik versus Gaziev. So enough talk. Let's get to the fights. Main event. The main event for a card that was so bad that the UFC could not sell it to Saudi Arabia. Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Shamil Gaziev was the heavyweight main event, and I think I don't know if this is a fact or not, but I feel like Rozenstruik, I've heard someone else say this too. Rozenstruik has more main events than almost anybody else on the roster except maybe like John Jones, and that's a bad statistic, honestly. This fight was awful. Shamil gassed away literally in round one. Just gassed out. And he was doing these like awful, I'm going to bend over, like just at the waist, 10 feet away, and just dive in to get a takedown. It was really funny. And this fight was so bad though. Rozenstruik was just there, I guess. Like he landed some things here and there. But I don't know. It's just really funny to me that the UFC made this same mistake last year with Sean Strickland and Abus Magomedov, or I might got the last name wrong. But they give these main events on fight nights to guys who have one fight in the UFC and don't have fanfare. Right? Like, and I don't mean that as like in a Michael Chandler getting or Ben Askren. I mean it as in Shamil Gaziev fought on a prelim on a pay-per-view, got a finish, and they were like, main event time. He's ready. It's insulting to the fans, I feel like. And I legitimately don't understand why they just put zero effort into their matchmaking. There is zero effort into their matchmaking, I feel like, at this point. I've been saying it for a while. It's the truth, They have a 600-man roster. And I feel like with that roster they have, they could do good fight cards on the same schedule, and they don't. They just don't. And on top of that, they don't pay these guys anything, so it makes me feel like I'm the a-hole for criticizing this, because at the same time, you got to criticize fighters for, not deserving of this spot, and it sucks. So this fight ended when the ref heard Gaziev tell his corner that he couldn't see and took it as a sign of throwing in the towel. And that is one of the weirdest reasons for a stoppage ever, but I feel like it was more so for the fans. Jokes aside, it's a really weird stoppage. I don't understand it, but at least it saved us 5 more minutes of that mess. Let's get to the rest of the card. Like I said, this card wasn't much. Vitor Petrino beat Tyson Pedro by unanimous decision, with Tyson Pedro retiring. He is citing family issues and stuff like that with it, like not being able to see his family as much, and the lack of money. And I'm going to say this. This guy has 11 fights in the UFC. He's 5-6 record, right? But that doesn't matter. It is depressing that a guy who works hard to get to the UFC, which the UFC, number one organization in the world, you're now fighting, like, when you're fighting on the regional circuit, like, okay, you're fighting professionally to get paid, but it's not a full-time job, even though it requires full-time to be at that level. It's because you're not getting paid full-time wages. And in the UFC, it's the premier organization in the world. You should be able to not struggle financially, even if you're just there, And if anyone says, well, look at all his wins were against bums. Why are bums in the UFC to begin with? Like at that point, if it's either there is no bums in the UFC or there is bums in the UFC, and like you know what I mean. It kind of hurts the narrative I feel like the UFC's pushing with, we have the best and biggest fighters in the world, and then when they say he doesn't make any money because he didn't draw us a dime, and he also, like, all his wins were against bums. He wasn't that great anyways. So are you the best organization in the world, or do you employ bums? Because what's going on here? It's incredibly infuriating for me as a fan and for me as a human being who wants my entertainers and athletes that entertain me. I don't want to say entertainers, but my athletes that entertain me and that are putting their physical health on the line to just not be paid like this. It is just, it's sickening. You can see my emotions coming out here. I'm trying not to explode because this is just, it's utterly disgusting. As someone, like, peek into my life a little bit, I feel like personally I'm a little underpaid at my job currently. And so it's frustrating, but there's positives to that with my job. There's positives to my job that aren't financial. In the UFC, it's not like me who works from home, and has great management. We see the management in the UFC. We see Dana White all the time. It's awful. You're also putting your physical health on the line. You don't have the best when it comes to, you're not working you're not working only the day of the fight. You work the entire fight camp. And when you're recovering, it is work to recover from, like, I tweaked my knee a little bit, so I gotta have to rest it. Like, it's your health. Recovering is part of your health. It's a job a little bit. As anyone that has a sore back from years of manual labor can tell you, I don't have one personally, but I know tons of people who do. It's resting and recovering it is like a job in a sense. So anyone who thinks that UFC fighters deserve their current pay, I think you can get out of here with that. Personally, I think I wouldn't even bring that around me. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's abhorrent. This is abysmal stuff that we have stories like this. Still, in 2024, the UFC can't be cool and pay people what they deserve. Absolutely horrendous. If you're the number one fight promotion in the world, you should be able to fight for them full time and make a living. At least, you don't have to be millionaires. You can make a living. I don't see that in other sports. They want to be big like the NBA and NFL. Never heard of that problem over there. Never heard people going broke. I've heard people complaining because they want more money. It's fair. But never heard of people going broke while they're in it. Next up, Muhammad Bakayev. He stunk up the place with a unanimous decision win over Alex Perez. Umar Nurmagomedov, he kind of middled out because I feel he kind of never really impresses me. But he got a win over Bekzat Alkmakan in a dominant fashion. Then he called out Sanhagen. And I'm sure that's going to go over real well for him. Steve Erceg, he got this great KO over Matt Schnell, who I believe is a fighter pay advocate, or who is anti-fighter pay. I think he's pro-UFC how they pay him. So, but regardless, though, I don't know if I can't remember if that's true or not. But one of the great moments on the card, one of the card that had two really good moments of the Steve Erceg KO was fantastic. Eric Anders got a unanimous decision win over Jamie Pickett. Vinicius Oliveira got a huge KO with a flying knee that I watched it. I didn't watch it live, but I saw the highlight. I almost jumped out of my seat. That's the other big moment on this card. Ayman Zahabi got a unanimous decision over Javid Basharat, which it was actually a fine. It was actually a fine card or a fine fight. It was all right. Some cool moments in there at least, with like an uppercut sway into a kick. I saw was pretty cool from Basharat. Christian Duncan got a TKO over Claudio Ribeiro. Ludovic Klein got a TKO with a teep kick to the body and some follow-up shots to AJ Cunningham. And finally, Loik Radzahabov. So apologies. I'm from the South. I really do feel bad. Got a KO winner over Abdul Karim Al-Salwadi in the very first fight on the card. But that's it for me. Like I said, I didn't really have much about this card. I mostly just ranted about fighter pay and how disgusting that makes me. Like, it's abhorrent. I hate it. But that's legitimately it for me. Don't worry, though. There's more of me to go around. Me and Carl, we shot the preview show this morning and for UFC 299. So this will probably come up first. But, and trust me, that video is absolutely wonderful. And you guys are going to really love it. Plus, with preview shows, we have a Patreon exclusive video for our new series on Patreon only called the INC Uncaged. So please check it out. We actually did a Q&A session with like questions and stuff like that we got from social media and YouTube and stuff like that. So it was really fun, really cool, like fan interaction things right there. And if you are a patron, or if you want to become a patron, I should say, you get to see videos early, exclusive content, and as a bonus, you can ask me to take any card and review it for the Retro Review series, which is super awesome and cool. And don't worry, I will be back next week to cover UFC 299. I'm Joe with the INC. Thank you so much for watching.